Hey, welcome to my first instructional video. I'm a motorcyclist who's had an iPhone camera destroyed. The vibration caused by mounting my camera to my handlebars broke the physical autofocus. I know there are vibration dampening mounts you can buy to alleviate this problem, but to be honest, they don't look all that effective. The problem is I can't test them cheaply. If I test one and it breaks another phone, that's kind of expensive. So I decided to go with a purpose-built GPS. After a little shopping, I landed on the Garmin Zumo XT. I mounted it on my bike and tried to use it. I quickly realized that it's not all that great at finding good motorcycle roads. It just wasn't on par with apps like Kalamoto, Rever, Scenic, and others that I was used to on the phone. This was super disappointing, and I spent a month or so tinkering with different apps and their output and the files they produce, and the Garmin, trying to make it usable. What I ended up with is that I use Scenic because it has a simple GPX file export capability. And I can get that onto the Garmin, and I can do this while I'm out on the road, right? If I make a stop somewhere, I can plan a new portion of my route and dump it onto the Garmin and follow it. So what follows is an explanation of how I go about doing that. The first step I take is turning off the off-route recalculation. What that means is when you get off the plan, right, Garmin will try to figure out how to put you back on track for your waypoints, and it will screw up any GPX stuff you've sent to it. So let's take a quick look at how to set that on the Garmin here. Essentially, you go into the settings and choose navigation, right? And then off-road recalculation, and it's usually on automatic. You want to turn that off and save it. So that'll set you up for being able to actually follow a GPX file that you dump to the Garmin. The next thing we'll take a look at is going into my Scenic app and exporting the GPX file. So we'll switch over to the phone here and have a look at, I've got a couple routes, demo ride, open that, and then there's an export GPX button. So I'm going to click that, and in my list of apps across the export target row is the Garmin Drive app. You may have to scroll across that a bit. You may have to go into the settings and turn that on as one of the targets if it's not already showing up. I'm going to take a brief segue here to dump the GPX file to my laptop, and we'll have a look at what's actually coming out of Scenic. There's this great tool online. It's called GPX Studio, and it lets you take a look at what's in GPX files. You can edit them, you can save them again, you can do all kinds of great stuff with this tool. But let's take a look at that demo ride GPX file that I airdropped to my laptop earlier. And we upload that, and it shows us the planned ride. I'm going to zoom out a little bit so we can see the whole thing here. But you see there's a lot of noise there, right? This demo ride GPX file is actually made up of several components. And GPX Studio will let you split those out. If you click this Extract Track Segments button, it will split them out, and you end up with 3 different components. I'm going to hide the original import and take a look at the first component. Now this is a sequence of waypoints with straight lines in between them. And what happens there is if you follow this on the Garmin, Garmin will decide what roads to take in between those waypoints. Like I said earlier, Garmin's not real great at that. And so I'm going to hide that away for a moment. The next one, you didn't really highlight anything because it's just the start and end points. So that portion of the file is useless. And the last bit, this is the track. This is the thing you want. This has all the detail. It's got the turn by turn, every curve in every road, and so forth. So this is what I was looking for. I wanted to make sure that the thing I planned in Scenic is actually what I was following on the Garmin. So now that we understand, there are 3 pieces that come over. 2 of them are crap, garbage, you can throw them out. And the third piece is what you want on the Garmin. So let's get rid of GPX Studio there. And back to the phone, we're going to choose the Drive app as our target. It'll take us over to the Drive app, and it says that the file's been received. Right now, what happens is you're in the Drive app. I'm assuming you've already got this working with your GPS, and that you have the little Drive app icon at the top of your Garmin file, and we'll hit send. And it will send that file over to your Garmin. It takes a few moments. The Garmin doesn't give you any kind of feedback that it's receiving something, but then it finishes and you're good. The GPX file's been sent. So at that point, we can take a look over at the Garmin XT and see what happens on that side. So the Garmin XT, it'll be Zumo XT, it'll be receiving the file. It takes a few minutes to actually recognize and like give you the prompts that says it's doing something. But then it comes up and says, okay, I've received things, right? So saving one of 2 to trip planner. Those are the 2 trips you don't need. We'll get to that in a moment. And then it will save a track. So I think at this point it's doing that thing where it's calculating what roads between waypoints. If you're at your laptop, it's a lot easier to use GPX Studio to ditch all that stuff and just send the track to your Garmin. But that's a few extra steps. Once this completes, it'll say it saved things and you have to dismiss a few dialog boxes. Yeah, new tracks received. We're going to say okay. And new trips received. That's cool. Locations, great. Close that. And let's have a quick look over at tracks, or the trips that were received. The 2 things we want to get rid of, right, will show up in your saved trips. And I don't have any use for either one of those. You can just go in and delete them straight away. You might want to take a look at them, but I just ditch them. Okay, so they're gone. We'll go back and we'll take a look at our tracks. So there's our track that come over. We want to have that open. It's the same path we just saw in GPX Studio. And at this point, you could hit go and follow that track. What that's going to do is it's going to paint the track on the map and your location and show you on it. There are no turn prompts. There are no distance to next turn sort of things. So you can visually follow the track. If you get off track and you're off route, as they call it, it will paint a dotted line back to the nearest track point it can find to help you find your way back. So it's sort of useful. It's not exactly what I was looking for. I was looking for street names. I was looking for turn-by-turn directions. And if you go into the settings here that we're seeing, and you scroll down, The key here is converting this thing to a trip. So we can start to finish, of course, and we'll save that by hitting done. And it will recalculate a little bit and save it as a trip. That's what you want. That's the key, right? The trip will give you the turn-by-turn directions that you can follow based on the track you sent over. So that takes a second. Demo ride is saved. That's great. You dismiss that. And then I generally delete the track. I don't need it once it's converted to a trip. Got rid of it. Okay, and back to the menu. And we'll go into Trip Planner. And then we can take a look at the demo ride. It'll warn you that editing the ride at this point will cause it to recalculate, right? So you're going to want to avoid doing that because it will choose all new roads. We say okay, and let's see, we can look at the map, make sure this is what we were looking for. It looks like the same route we saw over in GPX Studio. Go back, and we can hit go. And we're given a choice. Do you want to start from the closest entry point, the beginning, or the end? So if you're with a group or something and you've already pulled out of the parking lot, you're headed down the road on the path, closest entry point is probably good, but normally you want to start at the begin and go from there. And that will take you to the map and begin your journey that you planned over in Scenic. And the nice thing is, if it gets off route at this point, you fixed it so that it doesn't try to recalculate and mess up your planned trip and choose new roads. Hopefully this helps people that are trying to figure out how to make the Zumo XT usable. It's a fine device if you're like just trying to say get home, right? Or you're trying to go someplace. It's got this, find me more adventurous roads system that just doesn't work as well as the apps I'm used to. It'll get you there, and it might find you an interesting road you've not been on before. But like I said, the phone apps just do a better job. All right, hope this helps. I don't know, like the video if it's useful. I can't say subscribe because I don't know if I'll do another one of these. So if I do, see you then. Bye.